We are back on the Web Insurance Countdown to Kickoff on 1150 WIMA. Todd Walker here along with Doug Jenkins and Mike Miller. Our picks segment now also posted on the website, video at 1150wima.com. Go to the high school sports page and got results from last week on there, from every week actually, and playoff standings as far as who's in and who's on the bubble. Also our videos, all kinds of great stuff there. Let's get to the picks, guys, and let's start with the big one, Coldwater at St. John's.
Have it real quick before you get. Do you want the update on the standings?
Oh yeah.
I was going to say, because there's been a bit of a shift in the rankings here.
Moving up.
Moving, not you, Mike. Not you.
Step back, Miller.
You and I both did poorly last week.
That's what I'm talking
about. The difference is when you're at the top like I am, you can afford a week like that.
See, I'm closing
Todd,
in, Jenkins.
Close the gap. I had a 3-game lead on both of you guys going into last week. As it stands now, 28-9, 27-10 on the year, 25-12.
So I'm within one game.
So Walker is in striking distance.
I'm breathing down your neck, Chrome
Still
Dome.
plenty
I'm coming for you.
All right, well, let's
see what the great ones get better as the season goes on.
Show a little respect.
You're saying I was a flash in the pan at the beginning of the season.
Yes. You stoked
All right,
early.
if you're going to call down the thunder, let's get to
Got
it.
some lucky guesses, but now the cream's rising to the top. The men are being separated from the boys.
3 weeks
Any
to
other
go.
cliches you can think of? This guy.
Show respect to the elders.
Yeah, you're languishing, Miller. Let's go ahead with our picks then. St. John's, Coldwater. Mike, since you're in last place, like in Double Jeopardy, we'll let you go first.
I appreciate that, and I really appreciate this matchup, guys. This is a dandy. I mean, you're talking legitimately the two number ones, two of the really legendary programs, frankly, in high school football. I think it's going to come down to quarterback play tonight, and they both have good ones. Wes Alm for St. John's can run with the best. Keith Wenning can throw with the best. And if it stays dry, I like Keith Wenning and the Coldwater Cavaliers because I think really they both have the depth and the physicality, and they rarely make mistakes. Brilliant coaching. I'm going to say Keith Wenning a slight nod over Wes Allman. For those reasons only, I'll go for Coldwater. Plus, they haven't beaten, or St. John's hasn't beaten Coldwater since 2001. That's a long time.
Yeah, that would be, 7 in a row?
Yeah.
Doug, what do you think?
All right, we were talking about this earlier in the week, and in a game this tight, you tend to go for dumb reasons to pick a team because you just have to settle on something. Earlier in the week, I said because I lived in Delphus for a few years, my heart there with St. John's wanting them to win it. No disrespect to Coldwater, but Mother Nature's kind of thrown an interesting wrinkle into tonight's game. I think it's going to be wet. And that bodes to St. John's benefit because they're more of a ground-oriented team, and a passing attack could be harder to get going if it's going to be wet, especially with it being cold out. So, slight edge to St. John's and the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I'm picking the Blue Jays as well. I think if it's wet and muddy, that helps the Jays. That kind of solidifies me picking them. I think they're probably better mudders than Coldwater would like. I think that would be an advantage. I just think these are two great teams. Let's face it, you're right about the quarterback play. They're both awesome.
Flip a coin on this game, man.
I look at it like this. St. John's is at home. I think that means something.
Yes.
I think last week Coldwater had to work harder than St. John's did. Jays might be fresher. I'm using all that to say it could be a 1-point win, but I'm picking St. John's.
You're picking the Jays. That's fine. That's a separator. Then I can inch closer to you guys. But you know what? That's not going to matter because there's 1,900 more seats at Stadium Park than there were last year at this time, which means there will be tons of Coldwater people there. It's almost like a neutral site game tonight.
Mike, if you want to drive over to Delphus and argue with the locals that there's not a home field advantage at Stadium Park, go ahead. More power
Maybe
to
the
you.
sheer numbers aren't as one-sided as it used to be.
2,000 more seats doesn't change that? How did it absolutely changes that?
Yeah, slightly. We're going with the Jays. We'll see about that next week. We'll get an update. Let's go to the WBL. St. Mary's, Van Wert, this game down at St. Mary's. I'm going with the Riders. I think they're really hitting their stride now. Mike, you said it. This team seems to get better every week. And Van Wert, I think, is solid. I just don't think they've got a deep enough team to hang with St. Mary's. This will probably be competitive through the first half.
Yeah.
I see the second half going to the Riders. I'll take St. Mary's.
I think so too. I think it's a 4-quarter game, and because of that, it favors St. Mary's because they're going to just be oppressive as they just continue to pound with their off tackle runs and things of that nature. Van Wert can score some points, and they're going to need to early because they will get wore down as the game goes on. They've got a lot of two-way guys. They only have a 30-man roster, so you got to like St. Mary's. But Van Wert could pull an upset, probably not.
Dougie?
Well, I'm going to make it unanimous. I think if Van Wert has a shot at upsetting one of the upper echelon teams in the league, it's probably next week when they take on Ottawa Glandorf. I know that's probably sacrosanct, maybe me saying that, but St. Mary's is, I think, just too strong for them. I think Van Wert gives them a game like Mike. I think it goes 4 quarters, but in the end, I think the Riders come out with a win. Did I use that word right, by the way?
Which word?
Sacrosanct? Is that even a word?
That was perfect.
I used it. All right.
You were okay.
Sometimes I worry about that.
No, you're fine.
All right.
No need for grammatical corrections.
Good.
Kenton hosting Defiance tonight. Really desperation time for Defiance, although I think their playoff hopes are dead with 3 losses being as big a school as they are. But can they play spoiler? I don't think so. I saw Defiance last week. Even though it was sloppy, I don't think their offense is diverse enough to score with Kenton. I think Kenton wins this one fairly handily tonight in Kenton.
Well, I'm a little surprised that Defiance's passing game didn't play a little bit more into last week's game. They worked the screen pretty well, but then again, you don't score Kenton points running screenplays, and so I'm going to take Kenton.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a hunch, go for an upset special tonight. I think Defiance is a better team than you saw last week, but I will also say I don't believe that Kenton's defense is on par with where Shawnee is right now. So, assuming the field there at Robinson Field holds up, Defiance may have some success running the ball. That'll shorten the game a little bit for Mock and his aerial circus. I'm taking Defiance in a mild upset tonight. I think they're going to win the game.
I think it'll be high scoring, and if Defiance wins, it will certainly be an upset. All right, let's go to the GBC. Lima Senior at Findlay, and the Spartans last week hung in there with Napoleon, frankly, through 3 quarters. Not sure how much of weather played a factor there. Regardless, they ended up losing 34-7 as Napoleon scored 3 in the last 6 minutes, I think. Lima Senior at Findlay tonight. Let's face it, Findlay's owned them in recent years, and I mean owned them. And I see that continuing tonight. I'll take the Trojans.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to take Lima Senior in this one, especially Findlay struggled last week after that big 3 overtime win. I want to see something more from Lima Senior before I pick them, and thus far have not seen it.
Not too complicated. You have to go with Findlay. They've won on an average, 43 points a game in the last 7 years against Lima Senior. That's just complete dominance. Best part about tonight, short of a win for Lima Senior, is the Spartan Band is heading up to Findlay Donnell Stadium tonight. I hope they do well.
I'm sure
if they could put on a good football show, though, you could show the Toledo City League what they missed out
There
on.
you go. Take
It's
that,
just a
City
great
League.
football game. Hey, you could have had this.
You could have.
Too bad.
But, that's frankly a one-team league anyhow in football, other than Toledo Whitmer.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. Central Catholic's pretty good. Actually, all those
St.
Catholic
Francis
schools
is
are pretty good. So I stand corrected.
All the city schools, quote unquote, the city schools usually aren't very good, but the Catholic schools in that league.
Let me just throw this out here for our listeners. Why doesn't the WBL just do the right thing and let Lima Senior in?
We'll take that up maybe at the end of the year, Mike, as our last show, week
All right.
10. Our game is Allen East at Ada, and this is a matchup. Allen East is getting better, but they had a big loss last week. Running back and defensive lineman Levi Hoy suffered a broken leg. He is out for the season. That really hampers Allen East. They've been coming along, but I just don't see any way they outscore Ada tonight. I'll take the Bulldogs to go to 8-0.
Yeah, really, nothing more needs to be added to that. I'll take the Bulldogs.
Me too, Ada.
Well, we all agree that's the kiss of death, usually. We'll see how it turns out. So we've got this week and then 2 more weeks, and I'm only 1 game behind.
Yeah, if you noticed, I played a little defense. I just went with whoever you picked tonight.
Don't be doing that. We're going to pick 10 or 12 games the last week so I can make up the game I need.
Keep an eye out for Coldwater. There's the separator tonight. I'm not really that far away.
Now, we've dismissed you. You're like the Boilermakers. We've dismissed you altogether and moved on to next week. That's all for this segment of the Web Insurance Countdown to Kickoff. When we come back, we'll preview that Coldwater St. John's games with the head coaches, Todd Schulte and John Reed, as we come back with the Countdown to Kickoff on 1150 WIMA.